Hi there, this is Saidy Godette, and today I will be presenting on my paper, Preservation of Aspects of Culture Through the Adaptation of a National Cohune Industry. This piece will seek to discuss how the adaptation of the cohune industry in Belize is a positive step towards sustainability and conservation. While we would consider these two dimensions in the context of environment, it is really less linear than this. The cohune industry is a step towards recognizing that in the 21st century, innovation need not be detrimental to tradition. Rather, it can be applied and cultivated in such a manner that it nurtures traditional practices. Through sustainable and conscious behavior, this presentation aims to show the value of transformative industry to cultural preservation. While the main focus of this presentation is on the cohune oil industry, we recognize that the extraction of oil from the kernels of the cohune nut is not necessarily a novelty in Belize, nor is the use of the nut in other ways a novelty either. The new objectives and methods to be incorporated, however, will be transformational, and those are what's novel. The cohune nut can be eaten. When the nut is green, it can be consumed. Its nutrients are near identical to coconut. It can be used as fly brushes. It can be used for activated charcoal, fans, fermented for wine, used by the Maya in the past years and for centuries for thatch roofing. The palms, the ones that fall when burnt and run through a process, can be used to make salt. It is also a home for an epiphytic fern, which is used for Alzheimer's medication, and it's also used for the same nutrients that the cohune nut is used for. If COVID-19 has shown us anything for the past year, is that there is need for additional local industries. We need to examine those areas that have tangible economic value. We need something that is uniquely our own, that incorporates all different types of industrial processes, and ensure that that particular industry is not only inclusive, but it is also innovative. The National Cohune Industry aims at applying technology to planting, protecting, growth prediction, harvesting, and extracting cohune oil. The cohune industrial plants apply technology and innovation, aim to diversify the types of products emerging from the palm. This type of project will then place a tangible economic value on the cohune nut itself. As I mentioned previously, the cohune bioindustry is a conservation one. The industry is working to collaborate with the Green Climate Fund, reforming and creating a new bioindustry that is uniquely Belizean. It will operate under the banner of bioindustry and transformation, with key objectives ensuring that Belize becomes a model for sustainable management and eventual elimination of its carbon footprint. The initial phase for accomplishing this will be the conservation of approximately 30,000 acres of rainforests, the incorporation of active surveillance and fire management strategies in many methods of attaining this goal. Coupled with this is the elimination of illegal slash and burn in the area and poaching of exotic animals. To ensure there is minimal disturbance and destruction of the rainforest, the use of GIS, drones, and LiDAR to monitor and track growth patterns will be integrated. Strategic reforestation is an important component of this project. This mitigates soil erosion and corrects damage done from previous illegal farming in protected areas. How can cohune help culture then? It intends on adopting a number of approaches and models. One of the approaches would be the sustainable livelihood approach, where we incorporate such considerations as being people-centered, being responsive and participatory in all decisions, ensuring that partnerships that we have created are on multiple levels, ensuring sustainability economically, socially, environmentally, and institutionally. Also recognizing that the industry itself, as will the people, we will always be dynamic. It will be ever-changing. It intends on applying a culturally sensitive education system through various working groups across ministries. It also attends in that same area of education to have a co-op education plan, a program aimed at ensuring students are given real-world skills and opportunities within high school heading into college and university, the opportunity to be employed by the industry. This ensures economic sustainability and development. It is aiming for a sustainable future. All of these things, it should be mentioned, are linked. If we are going to be employing a culturally sensitive economic and co-op education system, then it will, in the long term, ensure a more economically sustainable future. In turn, with development of your mind and development of the industry comes the development of your area. Rural and village development through the industry, which intends, mind you, of being non-intrusive in terms of its environmental practices, but it recognizes at the same time that there needs to be infrastructural development in the area. We cannot consciously be within a rural area, develop a plant, and not have tangible infrastructural development, which would include health and the aforementioned educational facilities. Let's talk co-op. An academic program designed to complement a student's formal education with paid practical work experience directly related to the student's academic major. Training can range from engineering majors as well as retail sales and agriculture. In order to retain the status of your people or preserve a cultural group, there needs to be a valuable foundation of work. Cohune's co-op project will aim to ensure that education meets the needs of the youth. This promotes continuity, development, and therefore ushers in a new era of preservation, but one which is also strengthened by education and capital. Youth can save their cultures. Promoting a healthy appreciation for the uniqueness of the Maya and other cultures is now going to be paired with economic stability. The Cohune bio industry is not only an industry, it's essentially an ecosystem. And with that in context, we need to discuss that ecosystem and the model it intends to use, which is collective impact. There is a global urgency to employ responsible business strategies. More importantly, there is a need to recognize the power of what collective impact is. There are 5 conditions of collective impact, and these are the conditions which the Cohune industry intends to employ, and these are the conditions which will ensure the continuity of a lot of cultures, including the Maya culture in Belize. The 5 conditions include a common agenda, shared measurement, mutually reinforcing activities, continuous communication, and backbone support. As it relates to common agenda, all participants have a shared vision for change, including the common understanding of the problem. Now, we understand that the general problem here is sustainability, preservation. But it is a problem not because there is not a recognition of the importance of the culture, but is the problem comes when there is no education and economic development behind that, you will essentially lose your culture as your youth migrates, or they don't have a clear understanding of how important this particular culture is. When it relates to shared measurement, Cohune intends on collecting information, measuring results. Continuous evaluation tells us where we have gone wrong and how we can now employ all of our stakeholders, including all of these cultures, to ensure that we are not only accountable to ourselves, but remain accountable to each other. So if we intend on doing these co-op programs, if we intend on ensuring that there is a more culturally sensitive education system in those rural areas, then there needs to be shared measurement. Mutually reinforcing activities, participant activities must be differentiated, and we have established that we need to suit the needs of the people within the area. And this is how we intend on preserving culture. We have recognized that they have their own unique ways, their traditions, and we intend to work with that. But we also recognize that for true sustainability, there needs to be education. Continuous communication, consistent and open communication is needed across all stakeholders. This builds trust. We ensure that we have mutual objectives. Working groups across the country within all ministries are there to ensure, once they work along with our bioindustry, to ensure that we are continuously motivated and all stakeholders are gainfully employed in ensuring that not only the industry is successful, but the intended preservation of their culture is also successful. Backbone support. Creating and managing collective impact requires a separate organization with staff and specific set of skills to serve the backbone for the entire initiative. This is where we employ non-governmental agencies as well. Remember, we recognize that continuously there have been efforts by governments, by non-governmental agencies, by aid agencies to assist in culture. But we also recognize that the real capital comes from those corporate agencies. You need the private sector, and the private sector needs you. So it's a reciprocal organization, and it is a reciprocal relationship. Thank you for listening. Let me leave you with these closing remarks. Once we understand the why, then the how comes into greater focus. We need our future generations to understand their traditions. However, the stark reality is that there needs to be development across all categories for this to happen. Cohune and culture are symbiotic. The history it shares with all cultures in Belize has endowed it with a responsibility to ensure that they are preserved. There are a few people who I wish to acknowledge before I close. Mr. Rudolph Castillo, the founder of Cohune Limited, who has, through numerous calls and conversations, contributed to this presentation. Dr. Angel Cal, who placed everything in perspective for me. The graphics team at the Art Shack, Dr. Neville Trotz, who provided valuable information on the scientific value of Cohune oil and the extraction of that oil, and the team at Heritage Education Network for allowing me to be part of this symposium.